I was one of these fucking idiots walking around.
I
lived the slacker life. Okay,
was
I'm
thinking
age.
that while watching it.
I didn't see it because I could just walk out the door and go to the coffee shop and live it.
Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
What's happening, everybody? It's one fucking hour time. I am your host, Evan Husney. Of course, this is the show where we talk about one goddamn movie and we have just one fucking hour to do it. To my left, we got Big T, Tom Fitzgerald, back in action. What's going on, T?
Michelangelo. That's what's happening.
Oh, shout out to our Michael episode. Pretty epic stuff there. Bizarro sleepover party Tom, you and I and Rami had just a few weeks back. Unforgettable.
So fun.
Unforgettable. But we have a very special person here to my right because it is his birthday episode. Happy birthday. It's your time to shine. Here we go.
I'm back.
Marcus
I'm back.
Herring.
Yeah.
Marcus is back.
Oh, yes. Happy birthday to me. Thank you, guys.
Yep.
Thanks for not doing my birthday episode without me like you did, Michael.
Right.
Great episode, by the way. I did have only one little piece of FOMO is when you guys started talking about gerund movies, like the Finding Forrester type thing. I was losing it because I was like, this has been bugging me my entire life, and I wanted to get in there and talk about the ing movies,
the gerunds, sure,
and the goofy word that those kinds of verbs are.
Right.
It's such an unwieldy word. Like, just dial it back. Like gerund.
Yeah.
Where did that come from?
Doesn't need it, right?
Yeah.
Gerund. Yeah, it's a little overdone.
I could also see in this new era of like millennial parents like naming their kids like Gerund, get over here, Gerund. You know,
late for school,
Gerund. Yeah. Okay, but wait, I want to clear the air on Michael Marcus, because I had a dilemma on my hands. Okay, when we did not plan on covering Michael, this was just
we didn't plan on watching it.
No,
like right before we watched it.
No. This was
such an accident.
Happy accident, but it's like I can't. Like if I were to call you and be like, "Yo, you got to watch Michael tonight because we're doing it tomorrow," you just wouldn't have seen it. You know, you wouldn't have had the same that moment that we had.
What's the name of the episode?
Watching Michael. Right. So it's like you would have been like, I don't know, guys, this movie's not very good. And maybe like, no.
Yeah. We were reviewing the experience.
Yeah, I get it.
It was a tough situation.
If you'd asked me to watch it, I'd probably been mad anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Michael by myself. You know?
Exactly.
It wouldn't have been the same.
So you're going to have to come out to New York and be part of the sleepovers, and you're going to have to get over here. There's plenty of floor space. So let's go.
Make it out there for the Sex and the City movie. Sleep
God.
overnight.
We almost did that, actually. Okay. That's actually what we were going to watch instead of Michael, if you remember that. We put on Sex and the City Part 2, the second one.
But amazingly, we got to Michael through Che Diaz.
That's right.
We did.
Right.
You know us too well.
The episode. That's right.
Yeah, you know us too well. Anyway, enough of that bullshit. Tonight is Marcus's birthday
episode.
Yeah, fuck that shit. This is Marcus's birthday episode 105 of the show. And of course, the birthday episode, infamous around these parts. If it is your birthday, you get carte blanche, creative control to pick what movie you want us all to cover. No notes, no pushback from us. So, Marcus, tell the good people what you've picked for your birthday app.
Well, this is a movie that in most parts of my life, if you asked me what my favorite movie was, especially from, teenage years on, I would say Slacker. I would always say that. I wouldn't say Star Wars or whatever. And there would be a moment of time where I would pause and stopped telling people Slacker. Now I probably would hem and haw and not answer, and just get neurotic about deciding. But I think that, but back for most of my life, I Slacker, and rewatching it was really rewarding experience and reinforced why I love this movie so much.
Hell yeah! So one fucking hour on Slacker. Slacker is going to be
homie.
is going to be tonight. And but before we do that, just a couple of quick shout outs. One, of course, is the One Fucking Hour Patreon. Patreon.com/onefuckinghour is where you can sign up. It's the best way to support the show. It's just $5 a month. You get instant access to all of our bonus episodes and feature-length audio commentary tracks. And we recently had a new bonus episode drop. So we'll plug that right now. It was a lot of fun. We did a show and tell episode, just picking weird memorabilia, ephemera from our various collections that none of us knew that we each other had. And so we were sharing these things and the backstories and the personal anecdotes. And it was a lot of fun. In 4th grade, I choked on a toy. And I like almost died, I think. Whoa. And it was like 4th grade, and the whole class got together and made me get well soon cards, and I've kept them all. So I have them all.
That's cool.
Including the "Sorry You Choked" card.
That's great.
So,
That's so good.
So if you want to see the One Fucking Hour show and tell ep, you can catch it on the Patreon right now, only up there. Or you can click, if you're watching this on YouTube, click underneath the video, click the join button, and become a Momen of the channel. And you can also get the perks and benefits for the same price there as well. And the other shout out, because it is Marcus's birthday, we're going to give, we're in the gift giving mood here on the show. So we're going to offer that up to y'all for your chance to win a free One Fucking Hour t-shirt. And there's some simple instructions in order to how to do that. So we are embarking on a new series. Okay, right now, this is the inaugural episode. It's also Marcus's birthday, but it's the start of a new summer series we're going to do here. We're going to do a blitz run of 90s films here on the channel, one from each year. So tonight is 1990, and then next week we'll do a film from 91. Stay tuned to the end of the app. We'll tell you what that is. 92 and 93, so on and so forth. So, but we don't have like a cool, sexy name for the series. So
yeah, we're stumped on this one. We usually have cool, sexy names.
We do have normal, cool, sexy names.
Yeah, I don't know.
But not tonight. So we want you to help us come up with the name of our 90s series. Okay, 90s film. We love 90s films here. We love the independent films, even the studio. It's a great time for film, magical time. So you have to be following us on Instagram, and there is a post right now up on our Instagram that is announcing the Slacker episode. Comment there with your best idea for a 90s, our 90s summer film series.
And it's simple. The denominator is just dope-ass movies each year.
Yep.
91, 92, 93, 94. The denominator is just our picking. They're almost all indie, I would say, or at least in spirit. No blockbusters, anything like that. So it's sort of like indie 90s celebration, one year, another year, just all bangers.
All bangers.
So that's the general idea.
Yeah. So just comment on that post with your best title suggestion for the series, and whoever comes up with the best title wins the fucking free t-shirt. That's simple as that.
Oh, snap. So I got to say, I'm wearing my shirt all the time.
Yep.
No joke.
Yeah, same.
It's such great material.
Yep.
I love it. It's very comfortable, but very it's like thick. It's not like a thin tee, right, guys?
Right.
So it feels very substantial, and I got the pepper gray. That's the jam, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right.
Enjoy for the winner.
Yeah, and if that's too much anxiety for y'all and you just want to order a t-shirt, there is a link in the description of this video, or if you're listening to us on a podcast app, where you can order one of the shirts for your very own. So shout out to that. But without further ado, now let's get to the goddamn episode. One Fucking Hour on what, Tom?
Slacker.
Okay, so here we go. All right. Oh, God. All right, so here's the clock, and then here we go. 3, 2, 1. Boom. All right. Before I kick it off to you, Marcus, I will read, of course, the synopsis for the film, just to catch everybody up on Slacker. This is, of course, the description from the back of the Criterion release of the movie. So here we go. Slacker, directed by Richard Linklater, presents a day in the life of a loose-knit Austin, Texas subculture populated by eccentric and overeducated young people. That's funny. Okay. Shooting on 16 millimeter for a mere $23,000, writer, producer, director Linklater and his crew of friends threw out any idea of a traditional plot, choosing instead to create a tapestry of over 100 characters, each as compelling as the last. Slacker is a prescient look at an emerging generation of aggressive non-participants and one of the key films of the American independent movement of the 1990s. So there you go. Marcus, you touched on this as, why this movie is so, it's one of your favorite movies of all time, but what is it that originally made it speak to you so much, or why this movie?
Great. I'll be a little indulgent since it is my birthday. Just go into my own personal connection to this movie. Because, we'll get into this later, but it was shot in 89. It came out in 90, released in 91. It's a cusp movie, and I saw it at a cusp age for me, on that bridge between childhood and my teenage years, and so in just for illustration, it came out the same year as The Brave Little Toaster, which was a film I was not interested in. I had kind of outgrown it by that point, and Slacker had piqued my interest. So this was like me kind of growing up, in getting like an appreciation for adult movies,
Sure.
And it was also, I was living in Texas at the time. My sister went to UT in Austin. So Austin was a sort of magical place for me. And she's the one that came back and told me about Slacker, because it was a huge thing at the time. Texas boy makes a film. Texas boy does good. It was getting a lot of, it was very famous around Texas, so she brought it to me. And, it was probably one of the first times I was into something, or like maybe even the last time that I was into something as it was coming out, rather than looking at it in retrospect or whatever, I remember when Dazed and Confused was coming out, it was like, oh my God, the guy from Slackers made this movie. I was so excited about it. And, it really sort of like like I said, Austin's this kind of magical place, and I would go there, visit my sister, and go to the coffee shops and taco places. And I was just a kid, and I'd look around at everybody, and I'd think like, these are the Slacker people, and like, I would go to thrift stores, and just the whole vibe of this movie, just like hanging out, going to coffee shops, and dressing in thrift store clothes, and being into like alternative music and hanging out. Talking like philosophy or whatever with people at coffee shops. That was the kind of thing that I did for my teenage years, like trying to emulate this film.
Of course,
I would always show it to people. When I moved to Montana, I brought Slacker with me, and I would show it to every friend of mine to try to spread the word. And it was like I saw the 90s through Slacker. This is, and we'll touch on this because it is a cusp movie of like before Nirvana, before grunge, before any of that stuff.
Right.
And it was a more innocent time where these things seemed sort of neutral, and like the fashion was neutral. It was less about fashionable stuff. It was more like anti-fashion and anti-culture.
Right.
So, I was really hyper aware when like the 90s really kicked into gear, and you would see like grunge clothes at like Walmart or whatever. And you would see this stuff sold, the sort of 90s ethos packaged up and sold to people. I was like so hyper aware of it because I grew up with this movie, so I feel like it really shaped me in lots of ways. And also just the filmmaking, I think, really blew me away at the time, because it's the first time I'd seen a movie like this that could be a different structure, that could have such a radical structure, no real storyline. And I remember just thinking like, wow, like this is like experimental 90s cinema. What is the rest of the 90s going to be like? It's going to be fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And then of course, we all know what happened. But,
right. Yeah.
So I could go on and on and on of talk about my own personal relationship to this movie, but
sure, that's on which we'll touch on. Well, of course we'll touch on, but maybe to break the ice a little bit to start it off. I mean, the synopsis mentioned, how there's 100 characters. There's so many interesting people you meet in this movie that show up just for a handful of minutes and then they're gone forever. But But I thought it would be fun for us to go maybe around talking about who is our favorite slacker in this movie. Tom, you want to kick us off here? Who's your favorite?
Yeah,
I'm scared that you and I are going to pick.
Sure.
The same one.
I mean, it came to me when I was rewatching it. This idea, I was like, ooh, this guy's fun. You know, I would follow this person. So it's actually the guy who's cutting up the yearbook and burning the yearbook photos.
Right.
He's just about our first person other than Linklater in the beginning.
Right.
And of course, he ran over his mother. And,
right.
He's obviously deeply troubled person, but it was just such a wild hint at that kind of thing, because you did meet screw loose kind of guys in that scene once in a while.
Sure.
Who would just kind of like have an altar like that. And he looked like Paul Leary, the Butthole Surfers guitarist. He looked just like him. And Paul Leary has like weird bad energy like that too. And like weird, like attractive jock white boy. And there's something very wrong with him. So yeah, I love the yearbook cutting up guy.
I can shine some light on that guy. Well, he was a drummer in a band, the actor, you know.
Not surprised.
And I don't want to ruin him for you. And that story of someone running over their mom was like some lore that had happened like on the street that Linklater lived on.
Yeah.
So that's where that story came from.
And
the Super 8 movie that he rolls is Linklater's mom pushing him like in a car when he's a little kid. So there's a couple little trivia tidbits from that.
I mean, there's so many moments before I get to my fave. There's so many moments in this movie like that where it had to have been taken from, the streets of Austin or urban legend or something. Like some of these characters are so eccentric. It's like, how do you write that really, other than just like, oh, I saw them at this coffee shop, or I saw them in this store, and gonna take that note and then put
like
that.
He's a local character,
right?
I would assume that, like,
right.
I would assume that if I lived in that time in that place, it would be like I'm recognizing everybody. Like, oh my God, that fucking guy who's always at the coffee shop.
Yeah.
Or that fucking woman who's like, women's sexuality, you shouldn't do that.
Oh, that's
right.
I should know. I'm a medical doctor. I own a mansion and a yacht. You should quit traumatizing women.
We're gonna get to that.
That's your favorite, isn't it?
No, let's put a pin in that one for a minute. But my favorite guy in the character in the film is towards the end when he's closing down the bar, and he's hitting on the girl he's hitting on the British woman at the bar and trying to get her to watch Blow Up with him.
Oh, speaking of movies, you being from London and being a photographer and all, you might want to watch Blow Up tonight at 4 o'clock. Blow Up, London and the 60s and...
You must be, that you like that swinging London stuff and photography. Let's, and explaining
like New York City, like street culture, like
he's like totally ponytail loser guy, and it's amazing. That guy is hilarious, and his delivery
is the anti-artist, right?
He had a fun name. I saw in the credits.
Yeah.
He had a fun name. It was just like all caps, like Screecher or something.
Yeah.
He had like a nickname.
I love the character names. This is the first time I ever ran across that.
He's credited with his real name is like Screecher or something.
I love it. It's like a roadie.
I thought maybe he had
the
a
character
story
names are like the unluckiest guy in the world, or like having a breakthrough day, and so I love those kind of character names.
Right. So Marcus, do you have a fave character?
It's really hard to pick one. This is one of those movies where it, like, you see it young, and the dialogue, even the incidental dialogue, kind of seeps into your brain, and so like a lot of these lines, like even just like when someone goes like, "What happened?" It's like it's playing in my head on a loop, from this movie.
Wow.
But so I think that however, I think that the character that I love the most is having a breakthrough day. Actually, the woman who's handing out the
cards,
the oblique strategy cards.
Yeah.
She's great. Which is so cool. I got a deck of those right here. So of course. Yeah. I mean, I and what she says, like, there's just a bunch of classic lines in that scene 'cause she's using the cards, but someone says like, "Sorry, I'm late," and she's like, "That's okay. Time doesn't exist."
Yeah. Right.
Sorry, I'm late. No. That's all right. Time doesn't exist.
No, I just liked her sort of carefree vibe. She's not like super stylish. She just looks cool and just chill. And well, I like her vibe. And it's a weird scene to walk into too.
Well, it's funny you mentioned that character because when you were here in New York, we were having that conversation about the cosmic cop out, philosophy, the idea of, well, explain it, which I think is on display
really?
in this
I'm on
movie.
the spot here.
Well, why not?
Well, yeah, it's okay. We were just talking about the philosophy of life, what animates you. I mean, is it starting a family, becoming rich and famous, whatever? And I just was saying, I don't know. I mostly feel like utilizing the cosmic cop out
card,
where I immediately, even at my age, jumping to college dorm attitudes, where it's like, well, what is our context? We're on this rock. We're orbiting a sun, but what's the sun's context? If you look out into the sky and ignore the stars, it's just a bunch of black. What is it? What's time? We have our own relativity to time because of perception. Everything's perception. There's all these things we can't see because we have this very limited perception that's supposed to just keep us alive with our senses. And it's just if you just take a deep breath, you go what is even anything? The general 20th century existentialisms. And my whole life just cop out cosmically because I'm just what context is any important decision in? Ultimately.
Right. Mm-hmm. It's the cosmic cop out, right?
Out.
Yeah, right. So,
okay.
But, in case, those who aren't familiar with this movie aren't piecing this together, the movie is constructed in a very unique way. It is basically a relay, if you will, from following one character as it kind of, hands off the baton, the storytelling baton to the next story. And you follow that person or persons. And the characters never recur. It's just sort of going from one vignette to the next, to the next, to the next, to the next, in pretty rapid succession over the course of a single day in Austin, Texas. So it starts in the morning, goes to the night, and then in the early morning of the next day. And when you mentioned the set piece of the guy who had run over his mother, that's pretty much vignette number 2, I think, in the film, or 2 or 3. Yeah. And that's kind of it's a very smartly positioned in the film, I feel like, because it is something that is maybe the more plot driven thing that happens, even use that term loosely, of grabbing your attention with, whoa, first we open and we see this, after this little vignette with Richard Linklater who's in a taxi cab, he pulls up and sees a older woman just sprawled out on the gravel, and all these, all of her groceries scattered everywhere, and it's very, very photogenic, cinematic.
Right. I think it's interesting the train of thought you have here, because I think it is the only time really in the film that there's a hot image instead of just pure naturalism.
Right.
And it looks like a shot out of Weekend or something. Almost.
It does.
It's in the sense of not just what's happening, but in the placement. And there's this inherent surrealism, which leads me to think of a very cool. It's very cool of him to be influenced by Buñuel's Phantom of Liberty and the plot structure, because in Phantom of Liberty by Buñuel, you're following one character and then you get distracted and you follow the waiter of that character, and then and so on. And so, but there is kind of that kind of understated heat of inherently surreal image. It's only surreal because it's out of place with just everyday crossing the street reality, and that's very Buñuel, especially in the 70s. So but it doesn't really reoccur. It's true.
Yeah, so that's just really cool that right off the bat you're kind of hit with that image, which I think is suitable for framing, as you say. And then you kind of follow this character and you're not sure, oh my God, you find out he ran over his own mother, and that's just such a kind of what the fuck way to
it's a
open
crane shot too at that moment.
Yeah.
So it feels like the movie gets a little bigger all of a sudden. For an indie movie, it feels kind of big and expansive all for that moment. It's pretty interesting. It's also very quiet too. We just had this it feels like 10 minutes of Richard Linklater's character telling that story in the cab, and then the movie goes pretty much quiet, and while the guy is doing this little ritual thing. And
it's great. It's great. So anyway, I just wanted to mention that just to tie up all the loose ends there. But Marcus, do we want to start with or continue rather with just a little bit of Baby Got backstory on this movie, how it came to be, and all that stuff?
Yeah, I got the backstory on this. So I mean, so Richard Linklater, he made a short film. He's not a film school guy, I guess. He lived close to the university and he attended film classes, but he didn't go to film school.
Oh.
I guess he was into baseball or something. That's what someone said.
Yeah.
But
everybody wants some.
That's right.
Later film.
Actually, right.
About baseball.
Yeah. so he's kind of like a jock, you know.
Yeah.
And then I think someone said this in one of the back pieces, the featurettes, that when he realized that wasn't going to happen for him like professionally, he started kind of drifting more towards his other passion, the art. So he made this is his second feature film, actually. He made another entirely Super 8 movie called, it's just referred to as Plow. I can't remember the full name of it now.
It's like a sentence title.
It's a really long sentence title with the word plow in it.
I'll look it up while you're talking.
Okay. So after that, and it's basically like it's the same character who rides in the taxi cab, essentially. Same haircut, same clothes, same Richard Linklater. But Plow is a pretty quiet movie. There's not much dialogue in it, So, but it's basically the same character. After that movie, he said he had this other idea for like a movie that he was trying to raise money for. What was it called?
It's called "It's Impossible to Learn to Plow by Reading Books."
Right.
There you go.
How could I forget that?
Yeah. Yeah.
But so that after that's like 88. He made that, and then he had this idea to make another. He wanted to make another movie. I don't know what it's about, but he failed at it. He wasn't able to raise the money for it. So he had this. This was sort of, he said Slacker sort of like a reaction to that. Like he wanted to. He had this idea in the back of his head of doing the sort of relay style movie with like a light script. And thought like, what? I'll just make that movie. I could make it myself. I could shoot it in my backyard, And so it was just an accessible idea.
Yeah.
Accessible shooting wise, not accessible like from like an audience standpoint.
Right.
It's like one of his 4 a.m. ideas, he said. So, and then one of the other kind of breakthrough ideas was like for him was like, what if the characters spoke their internal monologues? So these are like kind of like a monologue that you might see in a play or what's going on in their mind. And one of the genius things that I think he did, what that makes the movie work so well, is when he's talking, when the other people are listening to the story, he instructed them to not be judgmental. Don't judge. Don't react in like a judgmental way to the story. That's the audience's job, is to react. Is to be is to decide whether or not to be judgmental.
Yeah.
Which I think does make it work in a really interesting way. So the script is like pretty short. It's like, it's on the DVD. Like you can kind of watch the script play as like a special feature. You can read it within like 5 minutes, the basic outline that he had. And there are some stuff that was like cut out here and there. There were some extended scenes and there were some reshoots later, like after the film was a hit and it was going to get sold, that he kind of cleaned it up a little bit. But like Tom, there was a big Butthole Surfers moment that was cut out of the film. That
really?
Yeah. There's a pretty cool deleted scene where someone wakes somebody. They walk into someone's room and crank a Butthole Surfers song to like wake them up.
Damn.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Get that in.
Seriously.
I know. Well, there are a couple Butthole Surfers songs in the
if I can interject just my own little anecdote or my own little story with this film is just it's this simple, because I was one of these fucking idiots walking around. I lived the slacker life. Okay,
was thinking that while watching it.
So what I'm saying is, this might be amusing to you guys. I didn't see it because I could just walk out the door and go to the coffee shop and live it, man. No, seriously, I was just like, I didn't have any problem with it, but I saw it like when I was 30 or something, and I loved it. It's every time I see it, I get in like a slacker mood, I call it. It's a great mood. I love that mood. But no. So here's the only thing. My friend did see it right when it came out, and they came back, and I was like, how's that movie, Slacker? And they went, dude, like the end credits are "Strangers Die Every Day" from the Rembrandt Pussy Horse album from the Butthole Surfers, and I was like, what are you talking about? Like, that's because getting back to kind of what you're saying, Marcus, this is still before Nevermind blowing up. And I'll quote actually King Coffee, the drummer from Butthole Surfers. He said, if in 1987 someone said to you guys, hey, Butthole Surfers, you're going to be on Capitol Records, and you're going to be all over MTV, he'd say, cool. And next week we're going to be on Pluto. It's just like not imaginable. So this just gives you the scale of things, that it was unreal that a movie that was being talked about and playing real theaters ended with a Butthole Surfer song. It's just like, did I hear you right? So that's just strange that, like you're saying, it's before everything. And the one last thing I'll say is, just having lived this, is there was a time when there really was no stakes to any of this stuff, because no one thought in film or in music that any of this would lead anywhere. It was just We're just doing this.
Right.
And it's probably a bad idea, but we want to do this, so we're going to do it. And, money changes everything. And this happened to hip hop too. Like, and it's a little sour what happened in the 90s. And this film is a perfect crystallization. It's actually really an 80s film.
Yeah.
Is what I'm trying to say. This is I'll shut up now, but like, that's my observation. This is the late 80s because it was made in 89. And the 90s is a whole different thing. Sure. And Slacker's success influenced that becoming
totally
big and mainstream.
It's the commodification, as we talk about, of all those things.
And the self-consciousness of it, like I'm in a scene all of a sudden,
Right. Yeah, right. This is when it's innocent. It's just happening naturally. It's
and it's hopeless. It's like like I'm going to go to Pluto. Okay?
Right.
And not just like the cultural, the style, the music, the youth aspect of it, also just the filmmaking aspect of it. If you think about like Clerks or something, like Kevin Smith obviously saw this movie and thought like, oh, I can do that, and that whole thing of like talking about like pop culture in movies, like Reservoir Dogs is like 92 or something, right?
92.
And like, I mean, I guess Seinfeld's like 89. I don't know if they were doing that in the early days of Seinfeld. I was trying to track like when is this like sort of like dialogue of talking about Smurfs, or whatever, like happening for the first time. Someone's dissecting a bomb, going like, do you remember the character on the Jetsons?
Yeah, no, right. Actually, you're right. It was a kind of a zeitgeist thing because it included like Larry David and the Seinfeld writers, like that whole thing about like pop culture in a different context. And, that's commented on by Peter Bagg and Dan Clowes, of course, in comics.
Yep.
And it was very, that was one thing that really amused me rewatching Slacker, was like that very lived in thing where people were overanalyzing, like Mr. Belvedere and stuff like that. That is just so amusingly a dated, weird, dumb thing that was like amusing people back then. That's Is it gone, or are people taking it too seriously now? Pop culture analysis,
I don't know. I mean, it became like Gilmore Girls or something. I think where it was just like how many references can I jam pack? Juno, just kind of dropping references.
It's everywhere. There you go.
Not analyzing like what was going on with the Smurfs, but just be like Papa Smurf, Baby Smurf, Smurf.
Well, or
but
also there's another layer where it's like this is an inherently ridiculous conversation, like you know what I mean, like, and that was observed by the comic books and Linklater. Like this is like some crazy folly. Yeah, like it wasn't played straight. The way
I think it was. I think it was sort of a like when I think of Tarantino and like I think it was sort of a hack. In order to get to sort of achieve more naturalistic dialogue, with your characters, was to speak like we would talk, to our friends. But then of course the ridiculous part of it is it's in the context of disarming a bomb or robbing a bank or whatever the fuck. That's
all these mobsters talking about Madonna albums and stuff.
You're right.
Well, the whole thing is that like the larger context is just that Gen X was raised by television.
Yes,
because of all the divorces and like latchkey kids. So it's like, honey, after school, just watch Love Boat and Gilligan's Island. And then,
well, there was a totemic monoculture that we all experienced. We all had a shared culture. And maybe now people are more splintered off and there's not much of a shared culture among
there's not. There's totally not.
There's no shorthand lingo to be like Wilma and Fred Flintstone or whatever,
because back then there was like, a handful of TV channels and now, there's everything. So, but one thing just about Richard Linklater before we move on that I think is interesting is the fact that he is this sort of self-trained filmmaker, self-trained art film snob brat kind of guy. He's because he always pops up on like other DVD releases that I've watched over the years. Like he'll show up on like Fassbinder special features. He's a huge Fassbinder head, and I definitely discovered some movies just through him. Hearing him talk about that stuff. I know he's big into Antonioni, of course. Shout out, Blow Up makes a reference in the film, and he's really into Bresson. So he and I have that. Gotta love the Bresson. But you mentioned, you also mentioned Louis Buñuel too, and I know that like Phantom Liberty, Discreet Charm, and The Bourgeoisie, those films made a huge impact on him. So he's studying all the world cinema and that's what's really influencing him. Not like so much the 70s American thing as it is the world cinema stuff, which is very interesting.
Good point.
Yeah.
It is
And
funny
it's distinct from like the brats of the 90s.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
It is really funny because he's watching those Euro movies and comes up with Slacker, and then someone like Kevin Smith's watching Slacker,
Right.
You know?
Well, if you think about it, it's very alluring. It's a very sexy thought. Just if you take a step back, it's like doing Buñuel in Central Texas. Like that's such a cool feel. Which is kind of like Flaming Lips or something. Another totemic thing here. I always think of Flaming Lips with this movie too. It's just like hardcore psychedelic rock in Oklahoma. It's just like, it's like, you know what I mean? It's you wouldn't, like you're supposed to do cool music and make cool movies and like Manhattan,
Yeah, right.
But maybe not. Maybe they're fucking in the middle of nowhere doing
That's
good
what's
shit.
That is what's also really like authentic about Slacker is that it's so regional. I mean, Austin today is a huge beacon of culture, but before what it is now, it wasn't so much. You had the music scenes there, the underground music scene and stuff there, of course, but it still wasn't this thing that people were sort of name checking all the time.
Right.
As a
No,
place
especially
to be.
before Nirvana and everything.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
It is I mean, it was sort of like mentioned on, there's that like MTV Cutting Edge or something, and they go to Austin like 85, 86 or something.
Yeah, but that's
and
a micro.
It's micro, but they're just kind of talking about it happening.
Yeah.
It's what my experience with Austin was like. It's always when you get there, it's always better in the past. Everyone's like, oh,
You
it's not
lived
how it used
there.
to be.
Is that what you're saying?
I did. Yeah, I lived there for 3 years. So it's always better in the past. And it's always the next big thing, like it was after the Seattle thing. It was like Austin's the next big thing. And it never really quite materialized. And here we are again, where again, it was better in the past and it's the next big thing again. So I don't know. It's going to be,
You don't think it's really peaking with the comedy Mothership? Holy shit. That shit sucks, dude. Poor Austin.
I know.
Fucking Joe Rogan just baby Huey'd it by sitting on it and just destroying
firecracker.
Yeah, Austin has been through a lot in the last 10 years. But anyway,
what's can I say a couple of things? Just
sure.
The you mentioned him liking art films and stuff. That has to be part of the story too. Is that he started the AFS, the Austin Film Society. Shout out to Lars.
Works with him every day. Works with him every day.
So I mean, he started that with I think Lee Daniel, who's the cinematographer for this, was part of that. The having a breakthrough day lady was Denise. She was like a part of that scene too. And they kind of built up doing screenings. Making posters, doing screenings around town, and it had sort of Austin had all these young people at the liberal arts college, but then nobody, they weren't, there was no film scene. So they kind of built it there, And so I think a lot of the people that would go to his screenings and stuff ended up helping him on the movie, acting in it,
right.
Being crew members and stuff like that. So he kind of built a scene around it, around himself,
Is he a founder of the society or co-founder?
He is the founder.
He's the founder. So
I think maybe it's like 3 people or something.
So it's right. So it's starting during the production kind of a Slacker. Like they're both being born in tandem.
Earlier,
a little earlier.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
The first film maybe or around there. Or whatever.
Okay.
Yeah, which is awesome.
Yeah.
That's a big deal.
It's very cool. And then the cast too is like local musicians, like you just kind of assume that one of these people were in a band or something.
Yeah, really.
Or crew members, that were like that are doing double duty with like sound and then like jumping in.
Yeah, and I do love like I think it's in that very the very iconic scene from this movie, which of course is the Madonna pap smear sequence.
It's a Madonna pap smear. I know it's kind of cloudy.
I think you just see that big chunky boom mic just enter the frame.
I saw the dip,
just like,
and I was like, "Let it ride, dude. It's a great. We're going to do a retake." Hey, and I get another. It's the bingo card game here. Is Butthole Surfers tonight, and that's. I just want to shout out Teresa Nervosa. One of the 2 drummers of Butthole Surfers is the pap smear selling lady,
and the image of the poster.
Year.
Oh,
yeah, she died last year. Yeah,
oh wow,
it's really sad.
And she's the image of the movie. I mean, she's the poster.
No, I know she's the I don't think she was planning on that happening, but she's like there's like a mural, Marcus, by the Vulcan video. Or am I getting
yeah,
it wrong?
that sounds right.
Of her?
Maybe.
Okay,
I thought
whatever.
you were
But
right.
she is the poster child
Of the film.
of the film, yeah, and it's
Totally.
a great scene. And yeah, now that's the thing. Do you know, Marcus? Did she write that monologue?
Yes. So the story, it's a half and half thing. So the car wreck thing that she runs it going like, oh man, there's a guy on the highway with a gun.
Yeah.
That is a story that he told her. Like they were friends. They were like silkscreen T-shirts together. The JFK guy, conspiracy theorist guy, is a friend too, who was a T-shirt maker.
He's my
And they
runner
were
up, by the way.
silkscreening T-shirts, and she was
Ooh,
telling
he's
him
good.
the story about. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
She was telling him the story about a guy on the highway with a gun or whatever. So
Yeah.
that is from her. So he's trying to keep her on script with her story the way she told it originally, And
okay.
then the Madonna thing is like something they made up, but also she is a huge Madonna fan, and she described herself as like a Mark David Chapman Madonna fan who loves Madonna so much that she would murder her.
Wow. I did not anticipate that.
I love that there. Yeah, I mean, there's the Surfers also have a song like in the Breakthrough Day scene with the art installation. You can hear that in the background.
The colored FBI guy is the name of the song.
Yeah.
Right. I never picked up on the music when I was a kid because, I just was ignorant or whatever. I remember wishing it had more like grunge music in it when I was a kid.
Yeah.
So, but going back, like you hear Daniel Johnston in it, you hear like the Austin stuff. That band Ed Hall was a huge Austin band, the band that you see. But one thing I love about it this time going through is that the music is mixed really low, and like it's not like
diegetic.
Yeah, exactly. If it was if it was someone made it today, it would turn into a music video during those sequences. Like they go in the record store and they crank the Daniel Johnston.
Well,
you'd be there for
because
like 30
the
seconds.
90s.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
I just love that choice to keep it all low, and it's like
Practical.
the
it
bird
would be
sounds are louder than the music.
Yeah, right. It would be what would be happening. The ambient sound of a not very good stereo
Speaker.
system, like with the speakers like out the window and they're sitting outside. I mean, that's how music would be really digested back then, more or less.
Yeah. One thing too that you mentioned, just going back to just Austin and the scene and the vibe of that time period is, before we started rolling, Tom, you were sort of mentioning the idea that, like every film eventually becomes a documentary, as time goes on. And that's so evident here because it's such a just, very authentic. Obviously, this is like, it really could be a documentary because it's capturing, so much of this scene and everything and these types of people and this fashion and everything. And it really is just, that's like,
but it's
so much of it to me. It's a snapshot, right?
It's a time capsule. And I haven't been to Austin in a while, actually, but it already looked mad different, like in, I don't know, 5 years ago when I was last there.
Sure.
But God knows what it's like now.
Oh, God.
And I think those days have been long, long, long gone. Like it's very sleepy. And really, why is Austin, right? It's because it's a college town. And, we've all been to college towns. I used to live in Chico up north in California. College towns are all have the same style, more or less, because their subsistence is the center of the town is a college with all these young people running around. So it's just going to not be normal in a regular small town or a big dumb city. So Austin
thins out in the summertime too. You know what I mean? Like the summertime hits and the town's a ghost town. Yeah.
But all I'm saying is just like Austin was just another, and this is not a diss, it's just like it was just another college town, but then it became not a college town, and then I don't know what it is now. I hope it's still recognizable, but
yeah.
There's
a lot of cool, just to situate it. Like, that there's a part when when you hear the Daniel Johnston song in the movie, like when they're walking, it's like the guy, he just threw the tent in the water with some guys, and then he meets up with the girl, that they're all talking about, and they go for a walk, and he's being an asshole. They pass by Sound Exchange, which is the old record store there, and you hear Daniel Johnston coming out of the speakers.
What? Great. NutraSweet, my favorite.
I got it for half price. Budding capitalist youth. That's amazing.
And they take a right and go down that street. That wall that they're walking by is the wall that the Daniel Johnston, like the famous mural with the "Hi, how are you" frog is on.
Sure.
But it's before the frog is on there. So it's like, so this movie is like before the frog is painted.
That's ill, dude.
That's a snapshot.
But now that building's not even there. It's just a fucking wall
Yeah, you sent a picture. So it was,
Yeah.
so the structure's torn down, but everybody fought to at least keep this
wall.
piece of the wall that has
Yeah.
the mural of
Wow.
Daniels.
Right,
cartoon on
right.
it.
So that's how much it's changed. You know,
Wow.
There's a bunch of other weird little landmarks that you see in the movie.
Yeah, and anything else? Is the bookstore half price books?
Yeah,
I
it
think-
is.
I-
It
yeah,
is.
yeah,
I
yeah.
actually caught it. It says half price books right
Nice.
on the door, but who
Nice.
knows what?
There's a chain of them, so
Yeah.
I think that's
Right,
the
that's
one.
true.
That's
seems
probably an
like the
early
one
ass one.
south.
Yeah.
There's the house that the guy he runs over the mother and he goes into that house like with the finger on it. That the finger hut, that is the Janis Joplin house that I went to a party there once. But supposedly Janis Joplin lived there. There's kind of like a tower, that kind of curved side of the building. And the top room is like where Janis Joplin used to live, supposedly. So that's like a place that's like a famous, it's by the university. Lots of students lived there at the time. Now it's probably some tech mansion or something.
Right.
And there's other little a lot of it's gone. The coffee shop
Right.
they go to is this place Les Amis that was gone before I moved there. But it was like a hangout.
What was it
spot. Les Amis, like friends. But
just
that was
gone.
gone before I moved there. And then the Continental Club, I think that was still around when I lived there. I don't know what its status is now, but it's a famous club there where bands play. I saw Jonathan Richman there.
Oh, right on. Right on. Let's talk a little bit about some of the set pieces because there's so many that are great that are worth mentioning. Of course, we talked about Pap smear and all that stuff. One that comes to mind that we mentioned obviously the woman getting run over by the car, but I love the guy who runs up right after when right after they arrest her son, and he's like, I don't know, man, some dude ran over her mother, man.
What happened? I don't know. Looks like some guy ran over his mother.
And that's great. That's just like the movie. That's like this movie to me, in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But tucked in,
And he's
Batman,
not even a hipster or anything. It's just
no. I know.
like a guy.
I know. But tucked in Batman shirt, homie. I mean, also pretty great, and just spouting the conspiracy theories. One thing that's very interesting. We didn't mention this at the top of the show, but Richard Linklater has a new movie in release right now that I guess Raimi saw. She sees every freaking new movie. She already saw, and then she's been watching the new recent interviews with Richard Linklater talking about it, and he mentioned something about how much he was really into conspiracy theories, and it's not so fun nowadays, of course, and he doesn't find fun in it now, of course, in a post sort of Trump QAnon thing, but.
Sure.
But he was really into it and had a lot of fun with it and went down a lot of rabbit holes. And so I think that's
It's
very
pretty Gen X, I would say.
For sure.
To have,
question everything.
Also, but you're saying too, like the folly of it, the irony, of it, like not really like living your life based on like 4chan belief systems and stuff.
Yeah, right. Exactly. So it's cool that, this film, explores that side of him through these different characters. And, because you have the JFK assassination guy who's fucking awesome. But also
that's great. That's a great
one of the fun things about conspiracy theories back then was that they were powerless politically, and I think now they're used like as like an instrument of politics, where I think back then it was just sort of like, it was like for outsider, hopeless. It's very like you said, Gen X. It's like you have nothing matters. You're not going to have any impact on the system. It's just going, and you're living on the fringe. Yeah. And these conspiracy theories are like some theories as to why you are so powerless,
Well, I think, some of the
explain
theories of conspiracy theories often are for people who want to exercise some kind of effort to not feel so helpless in this chaotic, absurd modern world and feel like that there is some like plan and there's some paperwork and dials being turned, and it's not just it's too hard to think of things in terms of just random chaos, and that you're not in context with anything, or whatever context you're in is just chaotic. Instead, it's almost comforting to think like, well, there's just groups of people who, everything is consequential to like 6 old white men and like around a table.
Right.
Like that's comforting, I think, to some people who feel like it's out of control mentally to even consider the modern world.
Right.
Yeah.
And it does connect with Gen X very well too. That's, people that still aren't in charge of things, like the boomers are still running the show. So
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Very
They
true.
all croak.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hurry up.
Yeah. Let's speed that up a little bit.
they're not gonna let Gen X take control. It's gonna be the millennials be like, all right.
Yeah.
No, we're not
guys.
doing anything. We're not taking control. We're like,
you guys are cosmic.
have fun. We're passing the keys right over from the boomers.
It's like keep away. It's a game of keep away.
Yeah. It's going to be a cosmic cop out.
Yeah, right. We're just going to cosmically cop out.
Yeah. So, so there's that, which is great. And from what I gather, like a lot of people also knew, Rick Linklater to be so obsessed with these kind of alternate theories. Yeah. So it's very, very funny that it's such a big part of this movie. So, one other set piece too, because we mentioned it earlier and I wanted to circle back around before I forgot. So, I was watching it with Raimi and she was like immediately like, wow, this is really making me unsettled, this scene, like this is a scene where, because a lot of this stuff is pretty harmless and fun and great to soak up, of course. But this scene is actually one of the ones that really is very unfun, which is that scene in the diner where there's the woman droning on about sexual trauma towards women. I should know I'm a doctor.
Little pieces of paper.
You should never traumatize a woman sexually. I should know. I'm a medical doctor.
Exactly. And that feels very real to me. Like that feels like real mental illness, that he must have witnessed somewhere, scribbled a note.
Intel, Marcus?
He said that essentially that happened to him, that someone was.
No, so that's an actress.
Well, that is an actress. Yeah. I mean, like, because the way he did, not to take it too much of a sideline into this, but the way he cast most of the movie was to, cast interesting faces, and then he interviewed the people and got an idea of their stories and stuff, and would incorporate that into the script, for a lot of this, which is why people have such a naturalism with a lot of the stories. But however, the mentally challenged woman there, like her interview tapes on the DVD, he's basically asking her like, are you comfortable playing like a crazy person? Like most of these, and he explains it to her, like most of the characters in the movie are drawn from people's lives. It's exactly what you think how he made the movie is kind of like how he did it, but
That's why I always
talks to this woman and says
reading about it.
Yeah, right.
Like, how this movie got made.
Yeah, you can see it. It's one of those things. It's like, oh, that was a great idea. I wish I'd had it. Kind of thing. I think. But he does explain to her like kind of like there's one character in the movie we're having trouble casting. Which could you do this? She's like, yeah, sure.
Yeah, so. And I think it's what was so disturbing about it is just like that, just repetition. It's so anxiety inducing, and
She's
repetition.
Getting kind of baby reindeer on him too.
Yes,
like fixating on, like if he stayed there reading the papers, she would really completely fixated on him.
Totally
right.
And no, it's very unsettling. Can I actually just say, when just doing like set pieces, chunks, people. Now this was an interesting reveal for me because again, I hadn't seen this film during the time, but right when it was out, I went to this club and there was bands playing, and I knew the bands. And one of the openers sort of was the TV guy, because I think he moved to San Francisco shortly after.
Right.
And the TV guy, this is nuts. Like the Madonna's Justify My Love had just come out.
Nice.
And the whole thing was the controversy. So he was walking around with the TV on his back and TVs he put all over the place, playing VHS loops of the Justify My Love report on 2020 with Ted Koppel at full blast. But that was a party, by the way, in 1991, And I was just like, later I went, oh, bucket that guy, and so that guy's real. That guy was not.
He's like an artist. Yeah.
I had
Cal Speltech or something. I think
something like that. Yeah.
I had written a note here to ask you specifically, Marcus, what's the deal with the scene that looks like it's taking place at EXP TV headquarters?
Right.
Like,
that's funny.
Because
we ape that for our installations.
They're definitely EXP TVing hard at that, in that scene.
Definitely. I mean, I think they built that set. So he got that guy. That guy built the set for him, and then the one little piece of intel that I thought was funny from that was he said that Rick had this dialogue written for that scene that was like kind of more like philosophical. So he didn't really like it, so he just asked him if he could rewrite it, and they came up with it like on the spot and came up with something that he felt more comfortable saying. So
like kind of more casual and less like a diatribe. Well, you know, circling back to what we were saying before about like Gen X and like raised by television, you know, was that generation and all that shit. And television was a fixation for Gen X, and there was this sort of kind of quaint move where it's like, let's fight back against television and make alternative television. And it was kind of, and some guy, you know, it's funny, this is so real. The guy walks in and goes, what's this kind of thing, like a psychic TV thing?
Yeah.
You know, and that's so, because you would bump into that. Like I went to a party once at another time, and it was Survival Research Laboratories was there.
Right.
And, you know, and it was like, you might as well just have a bunch of TVs installed and like robots, you know, tearing up geese and stuff like that. And it's like TV, it's almost a quaint cliche, like an art installation with like all TVs. It's a very Gen X kind of thing. And so that's a perfect encapsulation.
What's the 70s one where they drive a car through the stack of TVs?
Yeah.
You know, like,
But I mean but just, I don't know, just it's part of another zeitgeisty thing is the fighting television with television. You know,
absolutely.
Like and then everything changed, and then the internet, and forget it. You know.
Yeah, for sure. Marcus, any other set pieces you wanna talk about? Any specific ones?
I will say that the one interesting thing I wanted to mention this earlier when I was talking about my favorite character was that, you know, with the cards, is that was her thing, I guess, was to carry around these cards and like deal them to people.
Show them to us.
If you guys want to draw one now?
What is the deal with these cards?
So these are the oblique strategies is the name of this card and this deck of cards, and it's something that Brian Eno came up with.
Oh yeah, right.
And it's like the idea is that like you know, when you are being creative, you're trying to solve a creative problem, you can get stuck because you're basically just, you will try the same solution, but you'll just come at it from you'll change it slightly, but you just keep trying the same solution over and over again. So it's something he noticed creatively. So he and his partner, you know, came up with this Peter Schmidt came up with this deck that you could draw a card from to kind of break you out of those into a new solution, you know.
Okay.
So it's basically aimed at creative. So if you look at it, you know, I'll draw a card out now and it'll say like, not that one. I'll just draw a card out here and it'll says like disciplined self-indulgence. I don't, you know, it's hard to come up with what that context is right now.
Interesting.
It's basically a prompt to get you to think differently. You know, don't be afraid of cliches. That's one of them. You know, and so I guess when she died, she was a sound person on the film. Denise Montgomery, and I guess that's a real black eye. She'd had like a fight with her girlfriend, you know, that day or something. She seemed like a cool character, part of AFS and stuff. But Rick said that at her eulogy, her last oblique strategies card was open the door and go outside. That was her last card that she drew from the deck.
Damn. Nice. Yeah, it's you know what's interesting that's connected to that in a weird way is I thought I spotted I can't remember where it is in the movie. I will never be able to cut to it or find it. It's lost in the sauce of this movie. But I think that there was a copy of the Robert Bresson book, which you know, he's the filmmaker who made Pickpocket, and he made a Balthazar, or maybe it was like a Pickpocket poster or something. I can't remember. But anyway. Okay. The idea is that he also created sort of something similar to that deck of cards. He has the book Notes on a Cinematographer or whatever it's called. And that book is lines of rules and prompts for filmmaking and different types of like, the way you should look at sound. Like he just would jot down these sort of creative thoughts he had about this philosophy towards filmmaking, which was very unique. You know, and the way he thought about movies, and there are all these very sort of abstract thoughts, but also very like, you know, direct and, you know, pure cinema rules for pure cinema kind of thing. Right. And so it's, I can see that Linklater would be on that wavelength, you know, with making those choices and thinking in that way.
And you saw a little cameo of the book.
Either there was the cameo of the book, or or like a poster of Pickpocket in the movie that made me think about the book. But
Bresson shout out.
Bresson shout out for sure, because I know he's a big fan.
There is an Eraserhead poster in the film.
Yeah,
So
there is that too.
If there's
That's right.
some
Yeah.
shout out in there,
Right.
It seems like
Who
a lot
knows?
of it was drawn from like his stuff. You know, that
I was
they
going
would
to say,
make
like,
as-
For
is
sure.
it, was there set dressing or was it just like, so the room's
Right.
like, there's actually just to speak to things like, there's a great kind of cool European art film moment. Maybe I'll shout out this chunk where there's their roommate just disappeared. And all he left was a little stack of cards, postcards in the middle of the room, the empty room.
Yeah.
And that kind of thing would happen. Like you go to your friend's house, it's like, a guy just disappeared. Like, oh, okay. And amazing. No, but that has a nice touch to it. Like she's reading off. I like how she's reading them, and and here's the finale, I can't remember what it is, but I thought that was a nice touch. That was a kind of a nice poetic moment in the film. There's a lot of grace to that little sequence, and it looks really cool. There's a visual component to it that's really interesting.
Reading the story, then flipping it over and seeing. Like, the
but also it being
illustration,
taking place in this empty room, it just in the center, like these small little messages. Very oblique messages.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. And so much of this movie too, it's like, that style that you were mentioning earlier that he has, this sort of monologue style, or the inner thoughts, of these characters, and it's sort of one character more or less droning on, with some thought that the other
Can't
person.
You see someone hating this film?
Yeah. Yes.
Like for a certain kind of person to be like, I want to die right now.
Well,
like, shut up, everybody.
Yeah. Well, it's kind of interesting because, like, I do remember this is more my generation is watching
Limp Bizkit song.
I was. If only we could fly. I was not going to make the joke, and then I left it open for you.
But I did. So.
My generation. All right. So, not the Who song, by the way.
Never.
No, fuck that song. No, the where the fuck was I? Oh, okay. So
I was saying I could see somebody being
hating
really
it, right?
turned off by this.
Okay, so my generation, as clear as day remember Waking Life coming out. Okay, and
Life,
and that was a thing, and that definitely was, that the year 2000s or whatever the fuck it was version of
it was right there 2000
of Slacker, and that just at the time bothered the hell out of me, of that sort of drone on, very abrasive sort of style of making a movie or a scene.
In a way, it's just an animated Slacker.
It is
structurally, it's not dissimilar. And,
it's not, yeah.
Interesting. So you were turned off by it.
Well, then whenever it came out, I was like, "Fuck this,"
right. No, that's kind of what I'm saying. Yeah.
But then it's so weird to look at his filmography and to see that I didn't even piece this together until today that he did Dazed and Confused right after Slacker. That's the next real film that comes after, which is a huge leap. And
it's a huge leap. It's night and day.
Yeah, but you can see. Traces of it for sure
guys,
in there.
And the other thing is the Before Sunset is a big, sprawling, huge, romantic, yet interesting film. But it's just that's a legit film in the pantheon of film. What it's really crazy. This is a little tidbit. Is I was wondering what is this guy up to after Dazed and Confused, and I went to see Pulp Fiction when it came out. Right when it came out, and there's a trailer for whatever the hell that bank robber movie is that Linklater did.
Oh God!
What is that movie?
I was looking at it. It's called.
I'm not even saying
the
it's
Newton
bad,
Boys. The Newton
Boys. And I just went what the fuck, dude? Because that was really only a few years after Slacker, and I was like, what happened? Where is that? Maybe it's really cool though, and trailers can be deceiving, but it was just it was yet another leap even after Dazed and Confused, like a big sprawling big budget period piece.
Heist.
Anyway,
he also did Food Inc. It seems like
but I love Richard, and we were saying earlier, one of my movies I really like by him is actually Everybody Wants Some. I really love that movie, and it's so lived in, and I have a special place in my heart for that one. Richard's great, and I like all the Sunset movies actually.
School of Rock,
when they get sour, he's great.
School of Rock is a good time,
Oh God, he had a huge mainstream movie. That's
huge
right.
hit.
I love Dazed. Dazed
is
like
great.
I said, I was so
You should
excited
do
when it
Dazed.
came out.
Sure.
Yeah, I would love to. And I guess he had that planned right away. He was already thinking about that as his follow-up movie. There was a funny quote in Spike, Mike, Slacker, and Dykes, which is my first film book. I mentioned it all the time in the show. John Pearson.
Yeah.
who helped this movie get released after it was made. He helped him find a distributor for it. But he says that that when he was pitching it to people, he would say, like, it was like, I got this teenage rock and roll movie that would take place over the course of, like, one day in high school in 1976, But then he says, as the deal developed, Rick quickly had to learn to drop all references to the River's Edge or Los Olivados and focus on the Animal House, American Graffiti, Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Right.
There you go. More references to Buñuel in these movies.
Yeah, there you go.
Which is so weird that's his vibe, It's very unique. Very unique combination of influences.
I have one weird Dazed Confused story I have to share real quick. It's like when I was a kid, we would go out in Texas. We would go out to this land on my friend's property and like shoot guns and drive around these cars with the doors that were ripped off. They would let these little kids drive cars and run over trees and stuff like that. And we'd camp out there for like a week, with the adults while they drank or whatever. And one time this kid came out there with like an Edward Furlong haircut and a skateboard, and he had wearing all black, and his name was Wiley. And
I was about to bring him up.
I hung out with him for those couple days, and then Dazed and Confused came out, and this starring Wiley Wiggins, and I was like, holy shit, that's that kid that I hung out with on the land, And then when I was in my 30s, I think I finally met Wiley somewhere. Mm-hmm. And I was like, dude, this is really weird, but I met you when I was a little kid. And he's like, and I told him the story, and he goes, was that place that had the car with the doors ripped off and they would let the kids drive around?
There you go.
And I was like, I thought you were so cool. I was like, I cut my hair to be like you and stuff. He's like, that's awesome.
Wow. Yeah. Shout out to Wiley Wiggins, because I got to know him through the Alamo Draft House when I worked, for Tim and the Alamo and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I never lived in Austin, but I would go there maybe 6 to 8 times a year. And Wiley was awesome. He would head up the Fantastic Arcade, and he would do all the like indie game sort of festival that the Alamo would put on. And so I dealt with Wiley many times. Very good guy. Had ramen.
We're gonna have to do Dazed, and maybe we'll get Wiley.
Sure.
Or something.
There you go.
Awesome. So maybe just a quick round robin back to Slacker. A couple, maybe like each have a final observation in the last 3 minutes.
Sure.
You guys want to, Marcus?
Sure. Yeah. Go.
Oh, you're
Marcus
start.
Or Marcus or Tom?
We won't. Okay. So you know what I liked are the really old guys that pop up once in a while. I thought that even when I was young, I thought that was a nice flavor. It was very distinct, especially the really old dude with that kind of beautiful philosophical, like wandering around tape recording himself.
Oh yeah.
Towards the very end, and I thought, and then the crazy old guy who disarms the guy who's robbing
with the gun,
the anarchist, and just like I don't know, there's something, and actually the not very young guy who's kind of the creepy hitchhiker guy, who's like, whenever I get the feeling, that's my vocation or whatever he's saying. Like what I'm saying is it's not all 20-year-olds, and I like that. It has like it adds a little spice to the film.
Absolutely. That was in my notes to mention that too. And I do think that helps make it super balanced. It's not just about young people or whatever.
It's true. It's about people.
The anarchist guy was a professor at UT, a philosophy professor. And the guy that the smoking guy you're talking about, he was like a bouncer around town and a character at bars, but he was in our acting class with Linklater, and he gave us a monologue about how he hated his stepfather. So Linklater wrote that script. He probably didn't remember him or whatever. He wrote that thing about the guy hating his stepfather.
Right.
When he read the script, he was like, no, this is something I can identify with.
I can sink my teeth into this.
Yeah, right. That's
I guess
good.
that guy's in Miller's Crossing. Like he's in a few other movies too.
Wow.
All
right.
So,
My
pretty good film presence.
My last observation, I wanted to give a shout out to this guy because he just made me chuckle. He's towards the end of the film as well, and he's just one of these scenester guys, but he's wearing kind of like a beret backwards. Mm-hmm. And he's the guy who's like, hey, he's like kind of talking to the chicks like,
I'll drive.
We could go check it out. We could always go to a movie later.
Do it.
Yeah. Great.
I can get us on the guest list at the show. You know, come on, let's go. You know, and he's all
my
like,
roommate, my guitar.
yeah, right. And then he's like in
That's
the
a
car.
very lived-in real guy.
It's super lived in. And then he like gets into the car. There's a scene with him in the car, and he's driving, and he's talking about how like there's just ants everywhere here, man, and they're chewing through the cup of noodles, and then the ants are in the cup of noodles, and
we got these cup of ramen noodles, and in fucking 10 minutes you have to chew through the styrofoam cup, and they're like all the way in them and shit. And they ate my crackers, they ate the ding dongs, believe it or not.
That's very like fucking
that's like
real deal.
every other dude when you went and hung out. In the
Totally.
80s.
I know. Ants in the cup of noodles is so specific. You know?
All right, shout out to Ants in the cup of noodles guy.
Totally. He just moved to town. Yeah, really. Like he literally just moved to Austin.
There you go.
From Baton Rouge.
I just can totally imagine.
I love how you know.
I
all
will
this
shout
stuff.
out to the film formats used. You know,
Oh.
16.
Quick.
There's videotape. There's Super 8. And there's Pixel Vision.
Pixel Vision,
Not
bitch.
only is Pixel Vision shot on Pixel Vision, transferred to 16 millimeter, blown up to 35.
So crazy. That had to happen. Yeah.
That's nuts.
No, but well, actually, just as we have the last few seconds of the movie, if I'm not mistaken, what happens is they throw a Super 8 camera over a cliff.
Yeah.
And he crossed his fingers that they had anything salvageable at the bottom. Do you know anything, Marcus?
He said that was in another film, and they just stole the idea from it. You know, but yeah, they drive up to the top of Mount Benel and throw the camera off there. Yeah, that's all I know. I guess you could latch the camera and throw it, right? So
yeah,
I see.
The
beautiful ending.
The Pixel Vision, which as seen in our show and tell episode that you showed us just a few
amazing
weeks ago.
coincidence. All right. This is the second time you've brought it up. Yeah, it's amazing.
All right, everybody, that was 1 fucking hour on Slacker for Marcus's big birthday.
Guys.
Yeah,
thank you so much.
Happy birthday to Marcus.
We did it.
Thank you. I was worried we wouldn't have enough to talk about, but I always am. So.
No, there's plenty.
Yeah.
Here, this is an electric candle, but happy birthday to you.
I will. One last little cheat. I will say that if you're wondering, yes, Madonna has seen this movie and she watched it at the New Art and
she
LA.
liked it. Was
one.
she? Into
I heard
it?
she left during the Pap smear.
Are you kidding?
That's the legend. That's what they say. In,
During
Spike, Mike, Slacker, and Dykes. Yeah.
Wow.
I need to get more info on that.
Yeah, that's great. That's awesome. Good intel. So, all right.
1990.
1990 in the can. Checked off the list from our untitled 90s summer series. That could actually be the name of it, the Untitled 90s Summer Series.
Yeah, man.
But yes, of course, that is connected with the contest that we're going to do right now for this episode, the giveaway, the Marcus birthday giveaway, which is, of course, the 1 fucking hour t-shirt you can get for free. All you have to do is go over to our Instagram, make sure you're following us, and comment on the Slacker post that you'll see there right now with what we should call our summer 90s film series here on the channel. The best.
Name our series.
Name our series.
Name that series.
Name that series, and the best wins a free shirt courtesy of Marcus. So
right off his back.
Right off his back. So 1990 is in the can. We did that. That was Slacker. So now next week we're going to be going into 1991. And what are we going to be talking about? Well, special guest Raimi is returning for a film that she's been chomping at the bit to fit into this somehow, some way here on the show. So very exciting. We're going to be going back to the Martin Scorsese well, as we normally do.
Is this 4? Is this number 4?
I think it's 5.
3?
I think it's 5 because it's After Hours, King of Comedy, Taxi Driver.
Gangs in New York, right? Remember that episode? No, I'm kidding. Sorry. Say it again.
We do need to address that.
We watched.
No, we don't. We almost.
We watched half of Gangs in New York.
Gangs in New York.
It's not possible to watch the whole thing.
It's not.
I think it's actually impossible. Yeah. Like scientifically.
Yeah, Can you imagine in the theater being like?
No,
I saw it.
I can't. Okay, sorry, kidding. So this is maybe the 5th Scorsese.
Yes,
because
we did.
That puts him at like 4%.
It is
of our podcast.
It is, yeah. We did Goodfellas also, shout out. But 1991, we are doing his film, one of Raimi's favorite films of all time, is Cape Fear, the remake of the 50s noir film starring Robert De Niro, Nick Nolte,
Counselor.
in an insane Nick Nolte performance, and of course,
And it's funny because she has been mentioning it.
Yes,
and you guys have been talking about it a lot, and then it's just this series sort of fell into place.
Yeah,
because of something like, we're chomping at the bit for Cape Fear. We just did we're doing the 1990 movie, and there's a bunch of other it's actually what's really happening is it's like scraps of us, of these titles that we keep putting off, but we really wanted to get around to
exactly,
and the 90s ones. So that's really what's happening.
Yeah,
here.
I'm very excited.
When we did the 66 through whatever,
82.
What year did we stop at for that?
84.
I think it was 84. I think it was 67 to 84.
So someday we're gonna have to go back and do like 85 the 5 years that we're missing.
I can't wait. Like Driving Miss Daisy.
It's like the worst era of cinema. It's like right there. Yeah.
Wait,
for anything,
Green Tomatoes.
Fuck
it all. Pritzi's Honor. Fuck that.
Yeah, right. Oh my God. It's pretty grim moment of cinema.
There's good stuff.
Oh, there is. I'm sure we'll find something, but
it's true. We are leapfrogging over 5 years.
Yeah, we'll get those back sometime. We'll circle back. So 1991 will be next week for Cape Fear. I'm not going to mention it here, but I'm very excited about 1992's pick as well, because that also is very fits into the category of a movie we've been wanting to do for a very long time, and this is the excuse to do it. So Shortlist mania for that one. So this is very exciting. 90s summer series. Everybody buckle in, get ready for 90s marathon.
Let's all get 90s, everybody.
We're getting 90s. Yeah, for sure. So
playlists. What is that song? Popular by Surf. What is it called? Surf Nada? What am I talking about?
Right.
Nada Surf.
I wish it was Surf Nada.
Get your Bloodhound Gang CD out.
Yes.
Right.
Totally.
Blink 183.
Yes. Blink 185.
Yes,
yeah,
so let's band Blink 183.
Yeah, let's get ready for that shit. Very exciting. All right, everybody. Have a good rest of your week. Get on the Instagram, name our fucking series, and we'll see you next week, everybody. But we can't leave you without your birthday edition of a Momen of Zen. All right, everybody, take care, and we'll see you next week. So long. Farewell.
Yeah.
Bye.
Bye.
There's a time to fuck and a time to crave, but the soul sleeps in the army grave. There's a time to shit and a time for God. The last shit I took was pretty fucking high. Motherfucking goddamn orange peel beef.
That was wicked, man.